The San Francisco 49ers added exactly what the NFL feared most, and that was a dynamic, playmaking, blocking tight end. And while many people would hesitate and say, don't the San Francisco 49ers need a quarterback? I actually think they're going to do well with the quarterbacks they have on their roster. First, I have a ton of faith in Trey Lance, and I thought he would have done great last year if he gotten a bigger opportunity, and we don't really know a whole lot about him. They also have Brock Purdy, who's basically undefeated as a starter. His only loss came in the game where he got injured. I know all the arguments are that Brock Purdy doesn't have the greatest physical skill set, therefore he's not going to succeed in the NFL, but so far I would say 30 points a game is succeeding in the NFL. In this video, I want to break down how Cameron Latu, the 49ers' third round selection, makes the Niners a much more dangerous offense. Speaking of the Brock Purdy injury, Brock Purdy injured his play where the backup tight end was tasked with blocking one of the premier edge rushers in the league. And while there's been many criticism about this play, one thing's for sure, Kroft wasn't up to the task for blocking Hassan Reddick. But someone that might be up to the task in the future is a guy like Cameron Latu, who the Niners picked up in the third round and recently kind of showed out during mandatory minicamp. In this video, I want to go over how Latu's performed so far during this offseason, and then I want to jump into how Latu makes the Niners offense truly a different type of deadly. Then I want to conclude by going over Latu's college career, high school career, and what scouts were saying about Latu coming into the NFL. So jumping in, we need to speak about how Latu has distinguished himself so far during this offseason. The first and biggest way when he stepped on the field during rookie minicamp was how big he is. He's listed at 6'4", 245 pounds, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he's bigger than that. He looks like a true menace in the run game, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but I also think he's going to be extremely hard to tackle when he has the ball in his hand, and some of his college tape also demonstrated that. Furthermore, Latu's shown his ability to make those big plays I'm talking about. In minicamp, he had a huge bomb he caught for 60 yards, which was similar to the catch George Kittle also made during this mandatory minicamp. I think this signifies that Latu and Kittle are going to be a deadly combination for years to come. If you forget about Latu, he'll go ahead and burn you just like George Kittle will. Speaking about how George Kittle and Latu seem to fit perfectly together, let's speak about how Latu seems to fit perfectly into the 49ers offense. One of the biggest things where I think Latu is going to make an impact is on the 49ers running game, because I think he's going to pair nicely with either Colt McKivitz or another tight end and then double team them and then break off and move up to the second level, really helping this running game find another edge. He has the size to do it and mobility. Additionally, Latu should be able to anchor better in pass protection rather than Ross Dwelley or even Tyler Kroft, who caused the injury to Brock Purdy. To examine Latu a little bit further, I thought it would be interesting to examine Latu's football career up to this point, starting with his days at Olympus High School in Salt Lake. Latu played phenomenal throughout his time in Salt Lake. As a junior, he recorded 65 tackles, 20 tackles for loss, 9 sacks on defense, as well as 14 catches for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns on the offensive side of the ball. He was defensive end and a tight end during his time at high school and was largely recruited for what he did on the defensive side of the ball. Latu first committed to BYU and then recommitted to Alabama over offers from Nebraska, USC, Utah, and 19 other schools. In 2018, Latu redshirted, and then in 2019, Latu made a big switching from defensive end/linebacker to tight end. From 2018 to 2022, Latu played with the Crimson Tide, but the bulk of his receptions and action came in 2021 and 2022, where he amassed 787 receiving yards and 12 touchdowns. Cameron Latu then entered the NFL draft, where he ran his 40-yard time in 4.7 seconds. I don't think that's actually too bad considering his size. He also appears much faster than this on the field. Speaking about how Cameron Latu plays on the field, let's go over Cameron Latu's strengths coming into the NFL from college. One of his strengths has to be he averaged 14.1 yards per catch during his career at Alabama. He also demonstrated an ability to easily accelerate while running through the seam, and also demonstrated an ability to have a pretty solid pop into contact as a blocker and sustain double hooks. But there are weaknesses to Cameron Latu's game. Some things are, he has a slender lower half as an NFL base. As a blocker, he really needs to get that up, which is something players do often from year 1 to year 2. Cameron Latu offers depth to the 49ers tight end position that desperately needs it. George Kittle is getting up there in age, and the depth behind him has been questionable for some time now. The Niners added plenty of depth this offseason, adding Latu, but also adding Willis, who offers plenty of competition in his own right. Now that I've just gave my thoughts on Cameron Latu and his standout performance on day 2 of mandatory minicamp, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. It would also mean a ton to me if you guys liked and subscribed.